Story slams are great. They allow me to combine two disciplines that I don't normally get to combine, storytelling and imbibing. So hey, what could be better? This is a story about how one of my first ever jobs in life very nearly became my last. Now, I'm sure they didn't mean me any harm, and I'm reasonably certain that they weren't trying to get me killed. But when I was a kid, my parents would do almost anything that they could think of to get me to do my chores on time. Now, getting me to do my chores at all was difficult enough, but getting me to do them when they wanted them done was a near impossibility. In their quest, they employed various methods of persuasion. They coaxed me, they cajoled me, they coerced me. But the method of persuasion that they found most effective was bribery. They called it an allowance. Yes, friends, I had to do my chores in a reasonable time frame if I wanted my $1.50 a week to take down to the corner pharmacy and spend along with my friends and their allowances on baseball cards, comic books, cups of fruit-flavored Italian ice, the things that mattered most to me in this world. Now, the chores weren't very heavy, difficult, or time-consuming, and they were age-appropriate for me, whatever age I happened to be at any given point in time, 10 years old when this story takes place. And they consisted of things like setting the table for dinner, emptying the dishwasher when the contents were clean, taking the baskets out to the garage when the trash got full, and once a week dragging the barrels out to the curbside for collection. Well, one summer afternoon, after the trash men had come and gone, my mother called to me from the kitchen. "Bruce," she said, "time to take in the barrels." Well, that was my job, too. Well, I was in the next room in the den on the floor, crashing my Matchbox cars. So I said, "Well, in a little bit, Mom. I'm busy right now." "Well, what are you so busy with?" my mother said. She stuck her head into the room. "Oh," she said, "those toy cars can wait. It's windy outside. I don't want the barrels all over the neighborhood." "Oh, well, just another minute, Mom. I'm trying to finish this intersection right here." Well, I guess it was a little bit too much to ask, because after I said that, I could feel the silence building inside the room like steam inside a pressure cooker as my mother drew breath to issue me the ultimatum. "I want it done now," she said, "unless you don't want your allowance this week." Well, I knew when she put it like that, I could only buy myself just a very little bit more time. So I dawdled for another, about 30 seconds. And then I put down the smashed up cars, dragged myself to my feet, through the room, through the kitchen, over to the back door, which my mother now stood holding open to usher me outside. Well, just as I was stepping through the door, boom, 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 boom. My mother and I looked out to the other end of the driveway and saw a car, a brown sedan, swerve off the street and up onto the sidewalk, plowing through the barrels I was just on my way to collect, and through the end of our split rail fence, knocking everything all over like plastic toy bowling pins would be knocked around by a real bowling ball. It then rode down the embankment across the front lawn and over to the middle, where it performed a hasty, loud, not very aesthetically pleasing amputation upon one of two main limbs of our Japanese cherry tree, and then continued its wayward journey across the lawn until finally it came to rest just before hitting the house in the middle of our mountain laurel bush, 2.5 feet outside of our dining room. Well, my mother and I looked at one another. She was the taller one back then. Turns out she's really only about up to here on me. Well, neither one of us said anything, not right away anyway, but I believe that we were thinking the same thing. And that was, had I been out there at the precise moment when she wanted me to be, I would have been just another bowling pin in the path of the brown sedan. Well, this incident had a profound effect upon the remainder of my childhood. I could never look at Matchbox cars in quite the same way. And from that day forward, I never, ever, 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 and I mean ever, did my chores when I was told.